And we're live. What's going on, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of what are we calling this?
Wednesday night
When,
with the wedded people. I don't know.
that's to Wednesday night with the wedded people.
I don't know.
That sounds very
Wednesday weightlifting?
Wed-
No, because it's not really about weightlifting.
no Wednesday. I don't know.
Let's not have the comments this time.
Happy hour.
Sure. Let's not have the comments this time though.
No, you don't want to see all the
No, I know
comments?
that was really distracting last time. I don't
Well, I'll
want to.
put them off here, and then
Yeah, you can have them
and
separate.
then well, I can't really do it separate, but I'll keep them off. Oh, we have a comment already. Steve.
Hi.
What's up, Steve? Let's see here. So,
okay.
Well, we got to come up with a name for the show. So, what should we call it?
Right now, we have to come up with a name for the show.
I mean, we don't have to right now.
Let's not do it right now. Let's just get into talking so that we don't.
Want to call it happy hour?
We can call it happy hour.
Wednesday night. So this is a weekly segment that Anna Marie and I are going to be doing. Number one, just to have a fun, creative outlet. Especially with what's going on and the zombie apocalypse and the
Voldemort virus.
Voldemort virus. I like that better.
The virus that shall not be named.
Right. And I think one of the things we wanted to talk about was, we want to talk about a few different things. One of them was how our routine has been changing over, the last couple of weeks with, with kids. And it, for us having, kids that we homeschool and working from home, there wasn't like a massive change, but there was still some routine change that had to go into play.
Mostly just you being home has been the biggest change, which is helpful because then Phoebe, like you can take care of her while I'm teaching the big kids.
Yeah.
But that's mostly it, just you being home, which is helpful. I mean, right. Like I said already, it's helpful.
Well, what about after? Like because the biggest thing for us is like with our schedule, kids get up, they go to school, they go to school, we homeschool, but they do their normal routine, which is, so this hasn't affected any of that at all, which is get up, they do their math, they already have their math assignments, math books, they know what they're supposed to do, it's in the syllabus, they know what they're supposed to do every single day. Mm-hmm. We check their math before breakfast, we have breakfast, and then the kids go downstairs and they get ready for school. Okay.
Yeah, we talked about this last week.
Right, but then after that, school, lunch, and then downtime, the routine after has changed. They don't just go outside and play anymore,
Well, yeah, in the afternoons, they don't go out in the front yard and play because everyone's on quarantine, but they'll go out in the backyard and play. So they've actually started playing together better because they don't have any other option.
Right.
Which I think any parents of more than 2 kids, maybe even of 2 kids, will notice is if the kids don't have an option, they'll end up playing together and playing well together, which is good because they're going to be family for the rest of their lives, and they're going to need to have established a relationship and established communication.
Right.
And it's important that that they do that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons we homeschool, actually, is so that our kids end up working together despite being different ages and different developmental stages.
Yeah. And so that's where the other part of the equation comes into play too. Like after they haven't been able to go out, they haven't been able to go in the front yard, play with the neighbors, or go to places, with us.
No Y, no.
Yeah. No
sports,
jiu-jitsu, no YMCA,
no church.
Right. Yeah, no church. So
that's like very narrowed our life, like very just like zoomed it way in, as opposed to allowing it to be a little more broad. But we're doing stuff at home, building squat racks,
right?
Gardening, putting a food garden in and a pollinator garden in. So
yeah, so that's been fun, taking on new projects and trying to be more productive, and that's actually a subject I wanted to cover too. But the whole like after school aspect of it, where they can't go, we've had to kind of get a little bit more creative to get them busy and have them burn off some of that energy and be productive. One is they're playing more together, like you said, which is cool. They still fight and bicker and whatnot because of siblings, but
they're every day.
Yeah, but they're a lot more creative with each other, which is cool. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun to see that and their relationship built there.
And we as a family are going to do things like we usually do a lot more. We go on one walk a week and that's it.
Right.
And we go to a specific place that's pretty safe to be, and we can social distance well, and then we can be outside. We went down and skipped rocks on the water today, and had snacks and checked out some cool driftwood and sea glass, and took a good hike. And our 2-year-old
Yeah.
hiked.
She trekked.
Like hiked, and she was basically running on her 2 tiny little legs uphill for a solid half hour.
Right.
And she did tremendously well. She also took a hard nap.
Yeah, we went to out to
Chambers.
Chambers Bay today,
Yeah.
which was pretty cool, and we got to do that trail, which is, if you guys live in the area out here in
It's
Washington,
3.25 mile trail.
yeah, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful, and especially right now, the
Yeah,
weather
basically-
is showing up.
Right.
Spring is putting on her flowers.
and it wraps around the
golf
golf course
course.
out there. So,
It's right on
but
the water.
there's this cool, like, it starts out real high up top and then drops way down, down into the water. But it's not this just like straight, downward ramp. It's just switchback that goes all the way around. And Phoebe, like she was saying, our 2-year-old, she ended up just trekking the whole way up the trail, the whole way up, which was pretty awesome. And it's paved, but still, it was like we had a bunch of people like looking at us as if
We didn't
pretty
make her
impressed,
to.
yeah.
When she wanted me to run with her,
Yeah.
so I was like, I didn't actually run. I just pumped my arms really fast to make her think I was running, and then she was cool, and we were
Right.
running together because she was actually running because her legs are 12 inches long,
All right, I'm going to do a quick
maybe.
jump into the comments real fast just to see.
Okay,
Besides the
the gross
random-
ones.
let's see here. Matt, I can't see you yet. I sent you the link on Facebook Messenger, so check that one, and then you can check it out. I'm only child.
I got into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, everybody else kick rocks.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's get back to it. So, speaking of the walk today.
Yes.
So we were getting questions, and then this is part of the routine too. The kids obviously are aware of what's going on. We've talked about it. We're very open when we talk to our kids about things, and pretty honest with them. It helps them.
We try to
cope with things
have
better.
good discussions, or
Yeah.
at least allow them to talk to us or have the questions that they have. Of course, there's always an appropriate place and time for that, but
Right.
we're trying to teach that too.
Yeah. So one of the questions we were getting was, from the younger kids before, how come some people are wearing masks, some people aren't? And then the other thing was after that, like my son was, how come some people, like when you say hi, they're kind of standoffish, or some people are like go out of their way to walk around you, and things
That
like
happened
that.
today for sure.
That was pretty funny, actually.
I was.
You were not laughing
not
about it. You were
happy.
pretty.
Our-
So can I tell? or-
yeah, you tell the story. Yeah.
Okay,
You
so-
go for it.
So we're walking back, and then we're up at the top, and then our four oldest kids were up ahead, and
They were up a hill on the side, so they
Yeah.
weren't even like they were not on the walkway, and they
Yeah.
weren't near anyone else.
right, and then it was us and Phoebe, right?
Yeah, I was pushing the empty stroller.
Right, and then Phoebe's walking around, and we were telling Phoebe to walk, to stay off. We were telling everybody to stay to the right too, just to, to be, I mean,
Right
that's just
away.
normal, like walking
6
a trail,
feet. Yeah.
gracious,
Yeah, like you-
pass on your
it's
left,
like
stay to
driving.
the right, yeah.
Right.
So, and this older lady with her I wanna say
Grandson. I wanna say it was
yeah,
her grandson.
or
Yeah.
and anyway, she's
No mask, by the way.
Right.
Not wearing a mask.
yeah, and then just like stopped, and she's like waiting, and Phoebe's like walking towards her, and she like froze up and pulled her grandson towards her, and we're telling Phoebe, like, Phoebe, let's go this way, let's go to the right, and she just like stood there like it was like a rabid dog.
Yeah.
And then
like she was
when
gonna
Phoebe-
attack her.
And then she like passed like really fast, like around, like off the path
Turned?
where, and I'm talking like
Yeah.
from here to like here, but made it very obvious, like,
Yeah.
going way
This
around.
person is over 5 feet tall, so
Yes.
it's not like Phoebe is going to jump on her. And
Right. And the wind's
maul
blowing
her.
down anyway. So,
Anyway.
and look, and I get it. It's a serious
I don't,
thing.
sorry.
No, not that part. Just the,
Yeah.
as far as what's going on. And yes, people are getting sick, and yes, there are people that are dying from this as well as dying from many other things. So,
Jumping out of planes without parachutes.
right. Well, there's that one,
Yeah.
but that's coronavirus.
I know. Anyway,
so
so this woman
Yeah.
gives us this like appalled look, like literally
mind
just
you,
like
she's out in public too. So my thing
and
is
like
like
hard-eyed
if you're that
us
freaked out where you're
and
taking, like-
looked at our 2-year-old like she was the carrier, like she was the original, what was it? Bubonic Betty or whatever they called the Mary, Typhoid Mary, right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at her like, and I just went, wow, like loud enough for her to hear me because it was so rude and just, which actually, it was just fear, which actually leads right
Right.
into the other thing that we were going to talk about.
yeah, And so that gets into, but like my point with that was, we're out in public. There's a ton of people out. Okay, if you're that worried and scared and concerned, and my issue
like I
isn't
said,
with,
she wasn't wearing a mask.
right. Well, my issue with the whole thing was, if you're that concerned about your own health and well-being as far as what's going on, and I'm not going to judge you on that. That's fine.
Right.
I don't know what preconceived or
Right.
Existing conditions you
Yeah.
may have, but
Comorbidities. Yeah.
right. But if you're going to be that worried and you're going to go that far out of your way to worry about like a 2-year-old walking towards
On a
you
public
on a path, like
walkway.
a trail path that's like packed with, I don't say like packed, but there's like a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of people. You're
When the
passing-
weather comes out in
Yeah.
Washington after the cold and
Mhm.
dark and rain, everyone goes outside.
Yeah.
Even and everyone is being very like, yeah, it is crazy.
right.
And and everybody is being very considerate,
Yeah.
and including us,
Mhm.
of the other people around us, and like, but that was just overt bullshit.
Yeah. And it was, but like I said, if you're that concerned about it, where you feel like this dodging an extra foot is going to make a difference, stay home. Stay
Seriously.
home. Go out
And
in your front yard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that responsibility does not lie on us
No.
to make that person comfortable. We are being respectful and we are being cognizant of the situation, but it is that if that person is that uncomfortable being around other human beings, then they shouldn't be leaving. And it's not on me to.
Fun. It's awesome.
It's Typhoid Mary, but I couldn't.
Typhoid Mary.
I couldn't figure it out. No, it's good because I said bubonic Betty. Like,
Yeah,
we
that's
got
right.
it. But like, that the onus is not on us
Mhm.
to make that person feel
Right.
comfortable in a public place
Yeah.
with their small grandchild too. So I feel like their kid could very well be carrying the Voldemort virus, and we weren't acting all weird. Anyway,
So
moving on.
yeah, it was pretty interesting. So needless to say, that whole situation was, I laughed at it, and more than anything else. But fear makes you do a lot of things. It makes you worry about a lot of
Which
things.
is exactly what we're going to talk about next.
Right.
Which is not just the one thing. It's not just the fear. It's the lack of social discourse around pretty much anything nowadays.
Yeah. Right now it's this, but it's always been something.
Yeah, but it's always something where if you have a differing opinion or
Mhm.
you're coming from a different place, if the perceived common experience, or not the experience is the wrong word, but the perceived common socially acceptable opinion is different, then you're automatically shut down.
Like a social norm.
Right. And social norm is such a loose term,
Right,
because
right.
your social norm
Perceived
is
social norm. How's
dependent
that?
on your circle.
Right.
Because social norms change all the time,
Mhm.
and they will absolutely change by who you surround yourself with. So if you're in a circle that includes a diverse variety of humans, your social norms are going to be different than if you're around an echo chamber where everybody feels the same way, and you're like, yeah, exactly, that thing right there. Yes, for sure, just that. Instead of saying, well, where do you think that that's coming from? Or if somebody has a question, the idea that we can't discuss anything because having a different opinion or different idea, or even having a question.
Right.
I've seen that a lot. Like, it's not my responsibility to educate you. So it's true. It's not your responsibility to educate me, but you're right there and I'm right here, and you're telling me that this is wrong. So I'm asking you how and why.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so and I can go Google it, I guess, but I'm having a conversation with you.
Right.
And Google is questionable at best, because.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what you're looking for, and then which source you're looking for too, as well. You kind of have to know like where to look for information, how to research and whatnot. And I think the best way to do that is asking different people and seeking out different resources. Yeah, having conversations. So one of the things I wanted to kind of get into was being able to have like an actual social discourse, right? So like a social conversation with things you disagree on. Okay. Now, obviously, being married, we have trouble with that with just normal things sometimes, right? In the house. So it's actually really good practice to, when we do want to talk about something important, when understanding, that term, read the room. Okay, is this the right time to talk about this right now? Okay, is this the right time and place, right? So the other aspect of it, and that applies to everything in life. You can do that in business. You can have that when you're dealing with friends, whatever it is you're doing, you're talking about. But I think what's also interesting is when you do get good at that and you start practicing that, and then you're aware of it, you try to kind of carry that out into conversations you have with other people. It's kind of interesting where if people get defensive, right? If you disagree or if you question, as if like if it's it's a threat. So one thing that's funny to me is, like, I want to get into real fast is the let's talk about social media, right? Obviously, we're parents, we have kids, we have businesses,
we have social media,
right? We have
obviously,
social media,
we're here now,
right? I have a podcast, you have an online training business, and one of the things,
I work for an online training business and I have an in-person training business.
Yeah. So Barbell Logic, awesome. We you run into a lot of things where people post a lot of stuff, right? And what's funny to me, it's always been really interesting to me, is when people post things on social media and then they get frustrated when they get questioned. Now, attacked, insults, okay, fine, totally, fair game to get
keyboard warriors. This is not the same thing,
right? Now, I'm talking about if you post something and you say things like, and I said this in the post earlier when we talked, we were going to go live tonight, about when you name something as a truth or a fact or anything like that, and then when you start getting questioned on it, you say, "This is just my opinion." And this, well, it's not your opinion if you're trying to do. And I get it. Hashtag this, hashtag that, whatever. That's fine. Okay, but the other aspect of it is, if you don't want any discussion or discourse on the situation, on the subject or whatever you posted,
then don't allow
post
comments
or block your comments.
Block the comments.
Right. Yeah, that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
And that one's really interesting to me because people don't want to, and by all means, I don't want to get into a massive debate on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is. It's fun to have it more person to person, but obviously you can't always do that.
Right.
But when you post something and there's a disagreement and it's a question on an insult, and you can tell like the butthurtness of it.
Hashtag butthurtness.
Hashtag butthurt. There you go. It surprises me. Or if you're having a conversation with somebody, like I had somebody, perfect example, my old job, somebody said something that was anti like economy or something like that at all, right? And then I made the comment. I said, well, why do you think that? We're, and I named like 3 things that's going really well with the economy right now. This was like a year and a half ago. And then the guy turned to me and said, "Are you a Trumper?" And I was like, "Well, what?"
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. I said, "Trumper?" I'm like, "What's a Trumper?" And he goes, pro-Trump. And I said, "What does that have to do with like what we were just talking about? Like, why did you take a discussion about the economy and jump into turning it into something that was insulting towards the president, and then making it sound like you set the question up as in if I said yes. Yeah. And if I was a lesser of a person or wasn't as confident, then I would have been like, like, oh, okay, this is weird, or I don't want to cause conflict or anything like that." So, and I'm sitting there going like, well, we're not talking about Trump right now. You guys were actually talking about the economy. I said, if you want to talk about the Trump, we could do that too. I said, but I was talking about this right now.
Right.
And it wasn't even a discussion of pro or anti-Trump. We're talking about the economy, because just like when Obama was in office and people that are pro or anti-Obama blamed everything on Obama for pro or against the economy, you can't do that because the economy is more complex like that. It's the same thing with Trump.
And there's a lag.
Right.
There's a lag time in certain things.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is I figured we'd go to the comments on here real quick. So Robert said, and Robert is
somebody awesome, like walked around you in the store.
Robert, you sure? Because there's coronavirus. Robert will laugh at that joke.
If you don't, I'm sorry, Robert.
No, Robert for sure will laugh at that.
But that's dumb.
But that's true. Matt says people are too sensitive and can't have intelligent conversations about difference of opinion. Yes, exactly.
That's That's the heart of the matter.
That's a really good point. Robert says there's too many sensitives to even have norms these days.
Yeah, and that the fact that your social norms will, like I said, vary. Ugh, that's the next thing. The fact that social norms will vary in your day.
I totally laugh.
You'll in
I
your
love Robert.
day, you will go, say you spend time with 3 different groups in your life, and your social norms will change across those 3 groups. That tells you that they're not social norms,
Right.
that they're group norms.
Yes.
But the fact that we're calling them social norms and we're elevating them to a national level is, again, it's not realistic or sustainable, and it's going to vary greatly based on who you're talking to.
Well, and I love this quote by Jordan Peterson. Somebody said it the other day, which was, "People
You're
don't."
saying a lot of words that people are going to freak out about, like Trump and Jordan Peterson.
Jordan
First
Peterson's
of all,
awesome, by the way.
first of all, like this is okay. You're gonna hurt
That's
some
fine.
butts.
That's
Anyway,
okay. So he said, and it's one of my favorite quotes of this. And you know, it's probably not his originally, but you know, it's a great quote. People don't have ideas so much as the ideas have people. So meaning you're not so much tied. People aren't like, there's not so much like original thought going on right now, or at least that's being put out there, as much as people are tied to an ideology or a thought so much that the even mention of an opposing point of view or the possibility that they may not be in the right, or some facts, hashtag facts, may not be a hashtag fact. It may be you're wrong.
opinion.
Yeah, hashtag, or it's an opinion. And even the word opinion kind of gets thrown around because
Yeah.
I think when you talk about a fact, like an actual truth,
Mhm.
you know, like
He's waiting to come on.
oh, he got out of bed.
Hey!
Okay. We'll bring Robert in here. Yeah, it must have been important. We got Robert out of bed. Hold on one second here.
I was literally in bed.
I got to mute 1 second. Hold on here.
There he is.
There you
So
go.
my lighting is better. I was literally in bed. Like I told him, he told me to come on, and I was like, I'm in bed. And then when you started talking about this comment, I ran to the fridge to get a soda, and I shouldn't be drinking ginger ale, but whatever. And then I just had to come on.
So, but yeah, so me and you were actually talking about this earlier today, and about, you know, ideas and how, you know, and we're talking about this in the context of an idea of how people approach kind of like wellness, self-help, and that kind of thing too, and how they get tied into their own, locked into their own ideas of what is the right way to go about it and how to blame somebody.
I'm sorry. I'm like, my chair is like weird. Okay, I'm there. Okay,
Robert, I'm gonna kick you back in the green room. Get ready.
I know. I'm like, I had to hurry up. I was like, no, I'm ready now.
How did you get in the video, Matt? I sent you a link on Facebook Messenger.
That's how
You know,
you
man,
get
if you
in
can't
it.
figure it out, you can't come on.
Figure it out, Matt. Figure it out.
No, I wanted to. I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but I wanted
No,
to tell
go
you,
ahead.
like this guy. So I'm in DC. So and like we don't really. It's funny because people think that we'll be shut down, but we're really not really that shut down here.
Right.
So I usually just go out to walk or to just go to the store. So I went to this gas station, and like I didn't have a mask on or anything like that. And like there was this guy in there, and I was talking to my friend on the phone. There was this guy who had a mask on, and he kept saying, and like I was the only one in there, and he was talking to the guy, the one who works at the gas station, and he said it loud. He said it loud enough for me to hear. He was like, "Oh, people aren't taking this seriously," and I'm like.
Yeah.
And I'm looking like, is he talking to? It's like, is he talking to me?
I'm the only person in here.
Exactly.
That's one of those things where somebody's talking about you right in front of you, but they're not like looking at you. That'd be like literally if me and Anna Marie just started talking about you right now. You're like, fucker, I'm right here.
Exactly. Mind you, he doesn't have any gloves on. And he's touching everything in the store. He goes into the beverage fridge and gets all these beverages. And then I'm like, okay, whatever, I get it. so you don't want to be around me. So I'm ready to check out, and he's like standing and he's like at the counter, and I'm like all the way back, and I'm back by the chip. And so he looks at me like, and it's like, oh my gosh, can I go get the chips real quick? And I'm just like, okay, so you want me to move out your way? You don't want to be next to me. And I'm
6
just like,
feet.
do I have to throw down
6 feet.
in
Social distancing.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, but I'm like, you only have a mask on, but you realize that you have touched everything in this store with your hands. That's not going to do anything for the virus. Like the virus.
My favorite too is when people have gloves on and then they're smoking.
Yeah,
and they're bringing
exactly. It's like I'm just like, so I was like, people like, so I was just circling back to like, people do not know how to just. I'm just like, you people are just so. I don't know. I was just like, wow, because it's like,
if we want to talk about the mask and gloves too, the proper thing, because this has been a topic of conversation in my workout space with a couple friends too.
All right, real quick, hold on 1 second.
Yeah, so bring Matt in.
So I just want to obviously do proper introduction. So Robert is the owner of Dapper Guru. It's a men's
grooming line.
Grooming line.
It's so nice.
Freaking awesome soap.
Smells so
soaps,
good.
And he's got beard oils and all kinds of stuff. And he was also in the Army. He was on my podcast. So if you want to go back and listen to that, you'll get some fun conversation. And we have Matt joining us. Hacking Matt. Matt is a
strength
coach, and he's actually worked with Anna Marie. And
he's come and help me teach my class.
Right, and Matt's got I'm sure he's got some great insight into this because Matt works like myself in security part-time, and we work in venues. At least not right now, we're not, unless those are still deemed essential. Matt in Seattle. No.
Negative.
So,
not essential.
All right.
Anything limited is not essential. Should be.
I mean, I figured out why weed shops and liquor stores are considered essential. Taxes.
Yeah, large taxes.
Taxes. Especially in Washington, it's a vice tax. There's a double tax on liquor and on weed. So both of those places bring in more revenue for the state. So they're considered essential, but like a gym or, I don't know, a concert venue. I mean, concert venues, people are like moshing. So I get that not being like highly sanitary, but
right, hang on 1 second. I'm gonna plug my headphones in so we don't get a ton of feedback.
Okay.
There we go. All right. You need to put that one here. I'll put this one in. All right. So Robert, you were saying.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it was just weird. And I was like, do I have to throw down in this like gas station? Because it's so rude. Like, just like if you have a problem with me first, and that's what we were talking about. Don't go out in public. Like, why are you out in public if you don't want to? I mean, I wasn't doing anything that was, any worse than he was. He just had a mask on, but you were touching everything. I could have been freaked out that you didn't have any gloves on. Like, you don't have, because if he would have escalated it, I would just said, well, logically, you don't have any gloves on, and the virus is going to be transmitted probably more so through your hands. Yep. And you just touched the chips, and you got like 6 drinks. So please tell me, like, you could give it easily to me than I could to you. Like, you have a mask on. So it's like, I don't know. I was just like, this is so weird. So yeah, I just thought about that when you started. When I that's when I still wanted to jump on when you started. I was like, yes.
Right. Well, also when you go to the store and I don't want to turn this into like all about coronavirus
stories of coronavirus,
right?
Weirdness.
But just like it gets
that's like a whole thing.
But this gets more into like the false sense of security, and Matt, you can speak to this a little bit too, which is organizations and people will do things to make people feel at ease, like the public at ease, and it's good to an extent. Like, it's like you go to a baseball game, or if you go to a stadium or any kind of concert event, right? And then you have like an 80-year-old woman in a yellow jacket that's a security in the back, and she's patting down like a bag, right? And everybody has to wait in line, and this person has to pat down the bag, which is literally they're patting the bag down, right? And they can, but they're not actually searching, right? So it's the perception of security. So what it does is it gives people the the idea, like the general public who's not really like hardline paying attention to the situation, that, oh, their security, they're checking bags, like, you know, I feel safe, I feel comfortable. Oh, they're wearing gloves, I'm safe and comfortable. Well, if the person who's like at the cash register is actually, you know, unless they're changing their gloves between every person,
single time,
like they come through and touch all their stuff and then bag it, then it doesn't make, like, the glove doesn't matter, because all you did was just add a layer onto your hand, but it's still like one thing that's touching one thing, then it's touching another thing, and it's touching another thing, and another, and so on and so on. So, and they know that the virus is not just biological; it can, you know, hang out, you know, it can live on surfaces first. So anyway,
it is biological,
right? No. I mean, it's not going to be only transmitted via.
It's not
like,
biological;
no,
it's mechanical.
You know what I meant, anyway.
Like, what is it then?
Wow. You know, do we want to go down the conspiracy theory? Like,
let's not go down that rabbit hole, please. I don't sleep very well already. Matt's like, yes,
like, okay, now I'm jumping in.
Let's do that.
No, I was just, and another thing you quote when you're talking about, because I think, no, this is what really got me to jump out of bed, was my pet peeve. What you guys were speaking about was when people make posts that are controversial, then get pissy when people comment on that. It's like, don't make the post. Like, you know me, like I'm very controversial on Facebook. Like, very provocative. Very provocative. But I never get mad. I'm just like, it comes with the territory. Like,
right.
Wild things, and people come on there and say wild things to me, and we just have a banter. It's these people that go, like, they have an opinion, or like you said, state an opinion as a fact, and then they do this defensive, oh, it's my truth. Like, no, like, it's not. Like, your truth can be, like, your truth can be, I can fly, but if you jump off the building, you're not. So
truth is not relative. Truth is a constant. Truth is a constant, and this is something that is this is a very controversial thing that I'm saying right now. Truth is a constant. It does not change, and that's something that I teach my kids. And I've already gotten flack from saying that on one post on Instagram at one point from somebody who was like, "Well, then you're those people that say that, and then you say that, well, if the truth is the truth, and this thing here that I think is true isn't true because you don't think it's truth." And I was like, well, it's not relative. Your truth,
right?
Like hashtag your truth, isn't. It's your feelings, and your feelings lie to you all the time.
Exactly.
If anyone's ever had a feeling, they know that it's not always right.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I have to buffer it a little bit, because sometimes they can come out kind of like heartless, but sometimes with the kids, like, well, this is dumb. I'm like, well, your feelings don't matter.
Exactly.
Not your feelings don't matter.
They matter.
Especially to a 7 or a 5-year-old.
That's like one of my big things.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I always preach about. It's like, feelings are just, emotions are emotions. They're barometers to how you are currently feeling. It does not mean that it's the truth.
Right.
The truth of what you're feeling, but it's not the truth of everything that's going on. Right. And so that's why you have to be aware of your emotions and not react to them, because you don't know if you don't know what you're feeling is actually true of the moment. And so, I mean, that's what I teach in mindfulness is, I mean, that's all mindfulness is basically being aware, not attaching yourself to thoughts, feelings, or emotions,
right?
Because they might not be always true. Because your brain is crazy sometimes, and it can say a lot of things, and a lot of thoughts come in your mind, and a lot of feelings come through your mind. It doesn't mean you have to react to them or that they're true. Yeah. Someone can make you mad, and you have no reason to be mad.
Yeah. What do you think, Matt?
Well, the whole social media thing, like, I don't post shit anymore because I'm just sick of arguing with dumb people. Period. I'm tired of, the keyboard warriors. They can hide at home and say whatever they want. Like back in my day when I was growing up, when you said that shit, you got punched in the face. And like now,
there was a consequence for what you said.
Yeah. Like now there's no consequences for your actions. People can be at home with cyberbully stuff, and they just say whatever they want. There's nothing we can do about it, and it's like it's just not like it used to be. Like people can run their mouths now, and it's just like, well, if they're not physically doing anything, you can't do anything to defend yourself. It's just like it's just a bunch of crap, and so I stopped posting stuff on Facebook. So I got tired of arguing with people that just refuse to, in an intelligent conversation, you see somebody else's side and you try to look at it, intellectually and figure out, okay, where they're coming from. And then you debate, you don't just go, well, you're wrong. My dad will beat up your dad, type of shit,
Well, what do you guys think, to put a positive spin on this, right? Not to go down a rabbit hole of just like people are stupid. Some people are, but Robert and I. Well, yeah, you're right. It's my #truth. It's
my truth.
Robert, it's my truth. Robert and I earlier today we were actually talking about how there's a little bit of a backlash when you post something or talk about or make a public, you publicly talk about, especially if you have any kind of platform, right? And not like I have thousands of people watching my podcast, but we got a few people. And when you talk about things or post things about trying to spin this into a positive, like the situation, what are you doing right now to better yourself, your situation, your family? What are you working on, right? Because the one thing you can't say, right? And I'm not talking about the exception. This is the same thing when you talk about abortion and somebody brings up like, well, what if you got raped? That's like 0.001%. This is an abortion talk. I'm just I'm making an example. Okay.
Yeah.
So my point is there's no excuse now as far as I don't have time to do blank. Okay. There's not
so much time.
Everything's shut down. There's so much time. You actually have to. So if anything,
for a large majority of
people,
like not everybody, because there are obviously people that are working,
right?
But for the people that are at home,
but the ones who, but even if you're working, unless you're in the healthcare industry and you're on the front lines of what's going on right now, okay, and you're working 14, 16, 18-hour shifts, you have a lot of time. Even if you have a regular job and you were working 6, 8, 10 hours, you're working, and then you come home. There's no, besides like Netflix, there's no other, like you're not going anywhere. You're not going to the mall. You're not going, like we talked about. You're not going to a gym. If you were going to the gym, you're not going out to dinner. So you've got this extra time that you usually spent on something else. So now that you have this time, what are you doing to better yourself? And also, and of course, if you're bettering yourself, then you're bettering. If everybody's focusing on bettering themselves in some semblance, then of course society gets better. And I talked about this on my last podcast, which is my goal as a parent is to do better than my parents did. And it's not a knock on my parents. What it is if we're not trying to get better generationally, then like what the hell is the point, right? Like we're not trying to go backwards. Okay, so you try to take the good from what your parents did, right? And then you try to improve on where you see improvement can be made. And that's like everything in life. So in this situation, you've got time. I'm not going to an office anymore. So what can I do to work on things? I'm building a squat rack tomorrow. Like I've never built a squat rack, but I know how to use my tools in my hands. Like I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be fun. Working out more, being more, reading more. For us,
cooking and like coming up with different menus, things like that. But anyway,
focusing on family time. Yeah. So the question is, where do you stand with that concept of like the negative backlash of like, no, it's okay just to sit and hide in your house and mourn right now, right? And then Matt, let me start with you first.
I haven't been staying at home and hiding. I've been doing stuff. I'm taking Becca's anatomy class. Mm-hmm. So I'm taking that. I started training a little bit more because I got my garage gym. So I'm lifting. I'm doing a side hustle with that too. So I can cover my rent there. Fortunately, the building that I'm in is considered an essential building, so I've kind of got a little bit of a loophole there. So reading more. Retouching, or what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of reviewing things that I already know so I don't lose it, things like that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, like today we, the gym that I train at Aspire Athletics got tagged and graffitied really bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We all got together today and, pressure washed the building and got all the paint off and repainted the building. And, it was cool.
Is that in Seattle?
Yeah, it's on Aurora. It's like right on Aurora, right by the Marco Polo Hotel.
Oh, I know where that is.
Yeah. Used to be Blue Video back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so we did that. So like, a lot of the key players of that gym, we all got together and had pizza and painted the building with the owners and hung out, so even though, so it was like, it was like a community thing, so that was pretty cool. We got to see each other and hang out and talk and, paint and do that. I'm just trying to keep busy, to be honest with you, this shutdown has been someone like me's, paradise, because I'm not very social to begin with.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of abrasive and most people don't like me anyway. So it's not like this is really a change for me. I'm a homebody anyway. So this is,
Yeah. Introverts are super stoked on what's going on right now.
Right. Well, okay, so, and that was my thing going to Robert. Robert, you can speak on this. Go ahead.
I'm definitely an introvert, like definitely severely. Not, and so for me, for me, it was weird, right? Because as the world shifted, it got really peaceful for me. And so I felt this calm and peace. And I felt so weird because I'm like, I'm supposed to be panicking. And I don't know if it's from the military experience and just like I thrive in chaos. So I'm like, oh, this is my moment. Everyone's going crazy. And I'm just like I can operate. I don't know if it's that. It's probably that, but it might be also just the energy of the world has slowed down so much that it's probably like, okay. And so I've been really focused. During this time. I mean, I had this, I've been trying to do this project, this well-being stuff for I would say a year and a half. Do programs that I was in, courses, and I've been really dragging my butt just writing the content. And so that's what I've been doing. I've been just writing, actually creating worksheets and just doing this stuff. And it's been so weird because it's I didn't really have to force myself, and it's I don't know where it's coming from.
Well, you got a lot done in the last couple of weeks, just the back and forth conversations you and I have had.
Exactly. I'm one of these people that I usually drag my butt on stuff like this because I'm very I could be very indecisive, but it's been so easy to flow into it now. That's this weird flow of I'm just oh yeah, I don't have to think. I'm not getting in my way of being oh, this perfect. I'm just creating stuff. So I don't know what. So for me, I've been loving it, to be honest. I'm I don't love what's tragedy going on in the world, but just everything, I'm just more focused, and I'm just and I keep hearing I don't know where it's come from. I'm one of these kind of spiritual beings, so always but I just keep this sense of expanding, where everyone's contracting, I feel more to expand, which is weird because I would say I'm introverted. I'm more of an introverted personality, so I should be constricting naturally, but I'm not. I'm actually expanding and becoming more active, which is kind of tripping me out. So
I think part of it is because there's less of a social expectation right now for anything to be done or get done, right? Whether it's individually, business, or anything else too. So, and I think, and that gets back to my original topic, which was because I think there's that outrage culture of if you do see people that are being proactive, productive, and they're actually posting things and making comments and putting it out there on social media, right? I made that post earlier about building a squat rack, and I had some fun with it, and I was joking around about it as far as how I'm doing it, and just I've never done one before, but I hit people up and I made a post about it, and then also I talked about how this hits multiple fronts. Number one is it's a fun project for me and my kids. Number two, it's something that's going to provide for. There's a lack of, all the gyms are closed. And for us, we're blessed with, we built a home gym a long time ago, and we have a great home gym. But a lot of people don't. And now equipment's on back order, and there's a lot of things on back order. So I've been inspired by people like Grant Brody, who's down in LA, who owns the strength company, the Strength Code Gym, and they just started out. They gave their equipment away to clients to use, and then they started building racks out of out of wood, and then now they're actually welding them and doing that stuff. So
they've actually provided jobs, for
right,
people
exactly.
in this.
So they did this
welding racks in their gym.
So they did a hard pivot,
Yeah.
like with their business to number one, maintain, to give back to the community, and still actually draw some income. So I'm like, it's a fun project for the family. I get to build something or work on a skill for myself and get better at something because I like doing this and I just haven't done it enough yet. And then at the same time, I get to provide something for somebody who doesn't have a rack right now because I already got a few messages from people who are interested, and I get to make them a little money on the side. And because I made that post, somebody texted me privately and said, "I think it's garbage that you're trying to make money off of a situation like this." I looked at him and said, "That's what you took from that whole post was the fact that I was going to make some money." Like, that's ridiculous. The world didn't shut down, from that aspect of it, and it's like in capitalism didn't shut down, and the ability to make money didn't shut down.
They're probably not.
No, and it's like somebody said, the money didn't disappear; it's just changed hands or being held on to. You just have to figure out. Every mentor I know or speaks of, or like person who's an expert in business, always talks about if you want to try to actually build something or make some money or do something of that. Look, the best way to go about that is go look at solving people's problems. How do I solve a problem?
What do people need?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And that's so crazy because I think what's happening is I think a lot of people use the excuse of being busy
right
to trying to think of the word. I have a brain fart. To I have a brain fart. To basically,
It's late where you are.
Yeah, you're like, I pulled you out of bed,
It's
bro.
midnight.
No, I'm just because I've been thinking all day. But to really not face themselves or their responsibilities. And so now that they have no excuse and they're hit with the reality of actually themselves, I think a lot of people don't know who they are or what they want. And they use the excuse of being busy of all this social activity that we can think that we're productive because we're doing stuff, but it doesn't mean that we're actually productive. It just means that we're doing stuff.
Yeah, busyness is looking busy or filling your time with Instagram posts and Facebook and things like that. When you go, well, I don't have any time because I commute to work and I do this work here and I have to drive back home. So by the end of the day, I don't have time to cook. Some people don't, but a lot, if you really I think there's a ticker somewhere on your Instagram that'll tell you how many hours you spend on it in a day.
There is. Yeah. You can go on there and check it out.
And I know my Instagram time has gone up in this time of the Voldemort virus, but I think that we fill a lot of our time with stuff that's not necessary. And I think, going back to your comment about you being an introvert and you kind of expanding, I wonder if that's what introversion really is it's feeling the crushing pressure of all the extroverts around you and feeling there are times when I'm like an introverted extrovert, I'm an extroverted introvert, I guess, where there are situations that I will step into and places that I will go where we're hanging out with friends where it will suck the energy out of me and I'll go hide in the bathroom
exactly
for a while because I'm going to be on the floor, sliding across the floor because there's so much energy and it's not not
too
good.
Much effort.
It's just a lot. Yeah. And I feel like maybe that's what introversion is that suffocation. And now people are out of your space and you can open up.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think it's a lot I think the misconception I see a lot because people mischaracterize introversion as
antisocial,
which is not. Antisocial is not. It's just that the way you process energy and people around you. Mm-hmm. And I think what happens with introvert, and it's really about the sensitivity. You're just sensitive to actual elements, It's just you're hypersensitive, and you're hypersensitive to energy. And that's one thing with me is I am hypersensitive to people's emotions and energy. And it's crazy because my life has always been where I don't want to have to say that because it's like the work. It's obviously the work that I do, but I get people. I attract people who are in crisis all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to always be like, why? And then I realized this is my lot in life.
Why are you pointing at me?
Like, and like, it's like, and the thing is, it's like, so a lot of people just bring their issues to me, like, and just, it's the way it is. And so for me, I'm really sensitive to that and I can handle it. But what happens is I need a lot of downtime. Like, cause I get wiped out. And if I don't get that, I become very agitated. I become very just like, get away from me, because I don't get my, like, I need my space to kind of decompress and kind of get my introspection and go inside myself and kind of like, it's like being in my own cave, like a bear. And like, and if I don't, then I'm just off. And yeah. And I think that's what's happening now is that the energy of the world has calmed down to a level which I can function in without, like you said, without all the racket. And so now I'm just like, this is my space. Like, and I realize that. So I'm like, I'm doing all my work that I need. Like, my intention right now, my motivation is getting this stuff done because this is the ample time to do it, because I know that like we're kind of in this, and I kind of like, I feel like we're kind of in a more of a introverted, we're kind of going into more of an introverted world. Because I think this coronavirus is going to change how humans kind of relate to each other. I think it's going to be a lot of kind of social distancing. I think a lot of people are doing more things online now. A lot of people are being introduced to more online communications because they have to.
Right.
And then just the whole, I think it's funny because it only takes small events to change human behaviors, right?
Yes.
It's so crazy how it's like these small events just change the course of humans and how they behave. And I think we're probably going to have this type of behavior for a long time. I think it spooked a lot of people, especially in the United States, because we're not really used to pandemics in this way. And I think and I think what has happened is that as the world has become more connected in a way and more just a lot of attention. I think that's what's going on too. I think a lot of people realize that the world, like they can't get that energy and that attention anymore because it's not about them. Because people are like, no, like we have a pandemic going on, so stop. Like you don't get the attention. So people are like, what do I do now? Like it's like a dog. Like when they don't get any attention, they're just sitting there like pouting and
your shoe.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like exactly. So then I think a lot of people don't know how to handle not what do I do with nothing, and it's kind of crazy because it's like,
well, because if you don't have think about like work, right? Like working from home. Okay, so if you don't have somebody posted this the other day, it was actually pretty funny. It's about dress code because everything's like all the corporate environment now is all Zoom calls. And remember, and I'm bringing this up right now. So 2 weeks ago, me and Robert were texting back and forth, and even give a little more subcontext to this is. Anybody who says you can't build relationships still and you can't reach out and you can't get to know people, it's, especially because we're more kind of locked in right now, it's total bullshit. Me and Robert have never actually met in person. Robert lives in DC. I live out here in Washington. I would consider Robert a friend. We talk all the time. Okay.
Exactly.
And we exchange business ideas. We talk, funny stuff. Like we have fun. Okay. And to say that you can't build relationships right now is ridiculous, right? It's not, is it ideal? No. Okay. But at the same time, you still can still do things. But I remember when a couple of weeks ago this happened and all these corporate meetings started going into like the Zoom calls and everything else. I said, watch, bro, there's going to be all these people are not going to know how to deal with this. All these people that never had to deal with putting themselves on camera, putting themselves out there in these not introverts, but like people that truly are like shy and quiet and aren't put themselves out there on camera or on video or anything else of that nature. You're going to see a lot of weird shit happen. People are going to forget they're on camera.
The naked guy.
Naked guy.
What was his name?
Cameras.
Quinn, the naked guy.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So I told Robert about it. 3 days later, I sent him the link. I'm like, look, this girl went to the bathroom and took a laptop in. I said, we just talked about this. Said
My-
these things are happening. You know?
My buddy today, he was on like, I guess he was on like a call, 'cause he does a lot of political stuff. So they have to do calls like with people and I guess supporters and things like that. And he said somebody was on a call today with him on Zoom,
Finn.
and they fell asleep. They literally fell asleep like while he was talking, and he was like,
While he was talking,
hey man, like, are you there? And the dude was knocked out.
he wasn't like in the middle of like the 30th square, where nobody really paid attention.
Yeah.
He was the guy that was actually talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like,
So his
dude,
name's
people-
Naked Finn. Is that
Finn, the naked guy.
right? Finn the Naked Guy. Sister corrected us. Finn the Naked Guy.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah.
Look it up. It's really funny.
Oh yeah.
I think we're coming into a world where those things, like those intrinsic things, matter, and I don't think a lot of people have been taught to really like learn how to establish positive relationships, right? Not
So why
really.
do you think it's there's this negativity of this kind of backlash on like trying to turn this into a good thing? Like,
Entrepreneurship.
entrepreneurship, and then also trying to take a situation where, so for like the like Anna Marie, like the victim mentality that people have, right? And Anna Marie's awesome at this and she calls people out on this shit all the time, because if anybody could use an excuse, okay. No, I'm not
Okay.
doing this to put you up on this massive pedestal and make you feel uncomfortable. What I'm saying is
Making me uncomfortable.
are you a little uncomfortable? Are you going
Yes.
to be introvert now and shrink down? I'm saying if anybody had an excuse not to do something or not to work out or not to be productive, right? And then when I say excuse, like give yourself a reason to kind of help out. Okay, it's you're a homeschooling mother of 5. Okay, so just say those words out loud. Homeschooling mother of 5.
Stop.
Okay, that alone. No, I'm talking about like how much that takes up. How much that takes up. Right?
Okay.
Okay.
stop.
So
right.
that time alone. Okay. So if you want to do anything outside of your life that does not involve your children and teaching them, I'm not talking about feeding them. I'm not talking about helping clothe them.
Yes.
I'm talking about like the job of being the homeschool teacher and then also like being a mom of 5, right?
Yes.
Okay. You have to be very regimented. You have to be
Yeah.
disciplined.
Yep.
You have to have self-discipline.
It's my personality though.
Yeah. What's that?
Like my personality leans toward
Yes.
regimented life because I find that it makes me more productive.
See, even Cicely says.
Thank you. It's my sister.
But
No, it's just that I've always leaned toward having like a schedule because like one semester in college I didn't work. One didn't work, had one class, and I got a D in the class because I didn't
Idle hands.
have to do anything.
Right.
Like I didn't have to study on a schedule. I did, but I didn't have to. Like it wasn't like I have to study this hour to this hour because I didn't have to go to work. And I was nannying which is like an easy job. And I was doing that once a week. And so I got a D, which is basically failing. I don't know why they don't call D's failing.
Yeah.
D's are failing. They don't pass. But that's like, so that's one of the reasons that works for me. That's not going to work for everybody though. That like me having the regimented life and like a super, super schedule. So it works for me, but it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah, it's just weird. And this is weird. I was saying too, this weird thing about if you're thriving or you're doing anything positive, productive, like you shouldn't. Like, what are you talking about? Like people, like I met, like there was this post where this guy who we're Facebook friends, but I'm more friends with his friends, so that's why we added each other because we have mutual friends, and so we conjugate on each other pages, posts, and he was talking about like, oh, he was basically disparaging people who still ate out and didn't like cook their food in the house, and he was basically insinuating that those people were rubbing their, I guess, means, in the face of people who didn't. And I'm like, shut up. Like, people, it's weird ownership of people thinking that they can control other people.
Right.
And I'm like, but you're not paying my bills though. Like, if I don't go if you're not paying my bills, so I don't understand why you have the need to critique or try to control my choices. It's so weird. People controlling the spending choices of other people is such a weird thing to me.
Well,
And
that plays into this whole, like, you're talking about making connections with people, but everyone feels super connected because we're all social media like friends.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is you're just connected to like a large group of people telling you what to do.
Yeah.
You're not connected to actual friends. They're not your actual friends. Your actual friends are people that you take the time to cultivate those relationships with.
Right.
And these are acquaintances that are carried under the number 400 whatever friends on Facebook or 1,000 whatever followers on Instagram. So what that means is they feel like, because they think they know you, they have the right to tell you how to live your life.
Yeah,
so you should be hiding in a corner, or you should be learning new things, or you should be doing this or that. Well, if you're eating out, you're supporting a small business, probably. And if you're not, you're eating out because you want to. Who fucking cares?
Exactly.
Well, if you're eating anything, you're supporting some.
Yeah, somebody's being supported
unless you
by
went
whatever
hunted,
you're putting in your face.
Unless you went hunted, even then, you're still, But my point is, like Matt, you're in Seattle, right? So we're in. So to give everybody some context, right? Robertson, DC. All right, some of the people that are tuning in right now.
We're in Tacoma.
Robertson, DC, on the East Coast. Anna Marie and I were in the Tacoma area, and on the West Coast, and Matt's up in Seattle. Okay, so but even though we're like, before this kind of shutdown, we'd see Matt, once a week, once every couple of weeks, because he come down and train with us down here in our gym, in our garage. Okay. Being in Seattle and myself having worked in Seattle and Tacoma are two totally different dynamics, totally different atmospheres, two totally different worlds.
Tacoma's better.
Okay. So like this shutdown right now, okay, if you go out in the street, besides just traffic patterns and then seeing, businesses closed, but people being out, there's still a lot of people out. People are still going out. They're going to the store. They're aware of what's going on, but everybody's not locked up in their room, right? And everybody's not like hiding in their house.
It's not sustainable.
Well, like perfect example. And then Matt will ask you about this in a second, but we just had a new neighbor move in across the street. Okay, and I walked over. I said hi. I kind of made a joke. It looks like he's about my age. He's got two little kids like mine. And I did the, hey man, coronavirus, hello. And we did the elbow bump. And then and we chatted for a while, got to know him a little bit, and everything was cool. Right. To me, I guarantee you there's so many situations like that have happened so far in the last 3 weeks around this country, and people have hidden or turned to walk away or not barely even looked at that person. And to me, that's sad. But Matt, what's it like right now, like in Seattle? Because I'm not working up there. I go up now just once a week to go meet with one of my clients up in Renton, and but it's at a cannabis club. That's where he's got his office, and so that's still busy. That's still really busy in that area too. But just Seattle in general, like the hub, is it like it's just dead right now, right?
Yeah, it's pretty slow. I mean, traffic is a dream right now.
Yeah, I bet.
I can go anywhere in like 5 minutes. It's awesome. But there's still people in the stores, like you're saying, people are still shopping, people are still getting out. There's just not a whole lot to do. There's people in the parks, a lot of people aren't doing social distancing. They're still playing basketball, doing volleyball, but there's a lot of people that aren't, I've had some situations where I've been in the store, this happened just the other day. I had to go pick up a prescription, and they called another person, said, hey, your prescription's done. And he came up and he stood like right next to me up at the counter. And I was just kind of looking at him, and like no one was saying anything. And finally I was kind of like, hey, dude, do you think you could stand 6 feet away from me? Like, literally right here. And I'm
back
like,
up off me.
Yeah, like there's lines on the freaking floor,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Seattle, it's definitely slowed down, but people got to eat,
Yeah.
So people are getting out. I'm out every day. So
Gotta get that sunshine, man.
Yeah.
It's here.
Right. And for us, we even took it's funny because the kids kind of get cooped up a little bit, and they're outside, and we let obviously, and we go, we're doing more stuff, like we're doing hikes and we're doing more things as a family, which gets to the other thing, which was kind of what we're doing to change that routine a little bit. And we're taking this time to utilize to try to better ourselves, like our family dynamic, because it's easy, even though like we work from home, it's so easy with the tasks of having 5 kids in school. It's like sometimes like the kids will go to bed and we're like, holy shit, what happened today?
This
Like
day-
where'd the day go?
Every day.
Yeah, I feel like I was in the same house all day with my son, and I feel like I barely saw him, you know, and I feel like that happens a lot. I actually read an article about this, how people who, you know, live together, spouses and families, now that they're home and they're having to work from home, people are actually like learning what the other person does for a living. So apparently before, it's like a big thing apparently. A lot of people had no concept even of like, I knew, you know, this article quoted like they interviewed like 200 different people, and they're like, oh, I knew he worked in an office, or I knew she worked at a store somewhere. So I'm like, what? How do you live with somebody? You don't even
know.
I'm not talking about you need to know every nuance of everything they do all day, every day, right? What I'm saying is like, you don't even have an understanding of like what their career is, where they go and disappear for 10 hours a day. You know, it's just like, if you don't care, then you're kind of like, okay, well, at that point you are roommates. You know, you're not significant. And then if you are just roommates, well, what the hell's
A
the
lot
point?
of people are getting divorced right now.
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's not crazy, but it is.
It's
Because-
either getting a divorce or having a baby in 9 months.
There's that.
One or the other.
There's definitely that.
That's like
We're not doing either of those things, by the way.
No.
it's weird with me because my partner, he has his own small business.
Yeah.
So, and he has a lighting company here in DC. So like there's nothing really changed for us. This is our life, you know what I mean? It's like this is like where we live. So it's like no, we work from home. Well, he just downsized. It's funny because he just actually downsized his office before this hit. Like he didn't renew his lease. He basically just like changed the whole structure of his
Smart.
business. I was like, that's smart. It's like he has this like office like this, but he basically are like, so it's weird because our house is like all of our businesses are in apartments in one, because we sold a house, bought another one, moved into an apartment, and we've been here while the other one gets built. But it's been like a year, so I'm just like, when is this ever going to be done? But
Did he look at you and go, where the fuck are you going? It's 1 a.m. It's here
no,
right now.
I'm up all the time. Like we have really, we're very independent, but I'm just up all the time. So
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
cool, man.
That's
Very cool.
yeah. But yeah, it's like for us, it's like I know you because it's weird because like I literally am around you all the time, and I'm around your business all the time. And it's just like, and that's the hard thing in relationships is like when your business takes over like your life,
Yeah.
and it's like where do you escape? It's like because
You
like the
don't.
business, yeah, it's like this is your life. It's like okay, like this is like our lifestyle, you know. It's like I know what you do because you hear, and I hear you. I hear like you know the phone calls, and I'm a low key like office administrator for you. So yeah, so it's interesting though. It's like on the flip, like you were saying, people who don't know like what the other person's doing. It's so weird to me because I'm like the opposite. Like I'm too involved. Like there is no work-life balance. It's just like work is our life, like our lifestyle. And I don't mean that like in a bad way, but it's
Right.
just
No, I hear what you're saying.
like,
Yeah.
that's like it's like no, this is what gives us meaning. So this is what we do, and like so it's hard. That's why it's hard to explain. Like when people are like, so like when people are always asking me, "What are you doing?" I'm like working, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah," but it's like it's my life. So like I like doing it, so it doesn't feel like work. It's like I'm interested in what I do. So
Yeah.
we have like clear boundaries on anything.
Right.
It's just the way it is. So it's really interesting to me on the flip of people who kind of now have to like, I guess, learn the other person. But like you said, it's weird though. If you like been together for some length of time, you don't know what that person does with the majority of their day. Like I feel like that's so weird to me. I don't want to try to judge, but I feel like that's so I don't know. It's such a weird concept.
That's
to
an
me.
indicator. That's an
Right.
indicator right there.
Yeah.
If you don't
Yeah.
know what your person does for the large portion of their day, it's an indicator that you're not communicating very
Yeah,
efficiently.
my wife,
How do you
my
how do you
wife and I talk about
support
our day every day.
What was that, Matt?
I was gonna say my wife and I we talk about our days every day.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, that's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a
Yeah.
point of-
Well, we even started this new thing where, you know, even ourselves, like where we're like actively, what's that term everybody says? You know, like being intentional, right? It's like everybody says that, and it's just kind of a goofy thing to say sometimes.
Robert's
right?
laughing.
Intentional. Well, because it's one of those like internet things, right?
One of those
So
buzzwords.
No, because I'm in this like, so I do like
Yeah.
I'm in the positive psychology field. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of like my main like grown up career.
right.
And so you get all like, so I get like the intent. I get that all
Exactly.
the time.
But
Intentional.
so we were talking about how for us that it's easy to kind of fall into like what I was saying earlier, which is you know, the end of the day comes, kids go to bed and it's like 8 o'clock at night and you're sitting there going like, where the hell did the day go? You know, what did we do today sometimes? And you can go, even right now with what's going on, you can kind of go through like routines where you're just kind of buzzing just to get through the day. I mean, for myself personally, one of the things I've always struggled with in the past, not so much now, I think I'm doing a lot better job at it, which is like rushing to get something done. But like, there's no reason to rush. Like sometimes I would rush the kids, and I'm like, you know, and then Anna Marie would tell me like, "Why are you rushing them right now?" Like, I don't know. Like, it's like, really like I don't know why. Like, I got to hurry up and get to do this, and then hurry up and get to do that, and then hurry up to the next thing, and hurry up and finish dinner, and hurry up. Because I think what happens is I start anticipating all the tasks that have to be done throughout the day with the kids, so I can get my tasks done that I want to get done. So then me and you can spend time together before the day ends. Because if it doesn't, then it fucking sucks. And you know, so
Some days are like that. Though.
right. But some days are just like
that's
that. And then
okay.
also, if you're always rushing all the time through everything to hurry up
And you're
and
not
finish, then you're
experiencing
not
anything.
right.
Yeah,
you're
you're
not
not-
experiencing life. You're not
Yeah.
living in what's going on. And then the other aspect of it is because of that, sometimes what we're doing now is we're checking in with each other, meaning like at the
Matt
end of the
and
day,
Tracy do.
right.
Check in with
Yeah.
each other,
What we're doing is like, well, you know, and we're doing it throughout the day, different times, but we're trying to do it like at the end of every day now and trying to make that a habit. So that way, when things do kind of go back to normal, whatever the hell that means, then we don't go back into like if I end up going to, you know, where I'm out of the house more during the day, where we still kind of have that check-in process at night. I don't want to get into a routine where the kids go to bed, me and her both hop on our laptop to do a little bit of work. Like I'm changing a routine a little bit where I'm going to start getting up earlier, doing some podcast work in the morning when I'm fresh versus after the kids go to bed and like my creative energy is just spent, right? And then I'm sitting here trying to edit a podcast and I'm like half awake doing it, which is stupid because it's not like the best time for me to do something like that. So let's do it in the morning when I'm wide awake.
Like-
and then just hop on Netflix with Anna Marie and then go to bed and then like never really have a conversation, you know? So I think that's where it's one of the things where you can look at a situation like this and go, okay, how do we better ourselves? How do we try to improve on a situation? How do we try to get better as a, you know, as a family, as a couple, as an individual? Like, how do you better yourself? Like my training hasn't been like, you know, like my own, you know, fitness training hasn't been this good in years, which is you know, funny. And I've had a garage gym for the last 2 years, 2.5 years.
My
So,
training's been great.
yeah, yours is awesome.
I think one thing that, you know, circling back, like if you don't know like what the person does, how do you help them? How do you support them? Like
How do you listen?
emotionally?
Yeah.
That means you're not listening, right?
Like you don't know what they do. Like how can you support somebody emotionally if you have no idea of what they're experiencing? And like
Right.
and I'm thinking like is that where the conflict is then? It's like are people misunderstanding each other because they don't understand what each other go through. So it's like I don't tell you anything. And I would say I'll be candid and say I had to do this to my partner because he will bring home, well, it's here, but when he was in his office, he would bring home his work. And I'm like, okay, you're dumping on me. It's like, and I had to like, I'm like, you're bringing me like you're giving the world the leftovers, and I'm like, nah, that's not gonna really fly. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, so when people come home, like, are they just like using the other partner as just like as like an emotional, like I don't say trash can because that's horrible, but like
But it's
it
kind
is
of
what it
true
is.
though. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just using it, like you're just dumping all your trash, like your emotions on them, like a trash, like you're emptying it into a trash can. And it's like, and I think that's probably one of the things with a lot of people. And if you don't understand like what each other needs, it's like, how can you effectively like just help each other cope with life if you don't even know like what the person actually is experiencing? Like if you know the person is like, I mean, it's a bit like if you communicate and this person is coming home stressed, and if you knew that like they had a high, you know, they had a really bad working situation, you could probably help them cope
Yeah.
and you're not taking things as offense. And when you can just separate yourself from the emotion and say, you know what, this probably isn't about me. This is about what's going on with his work, her work, and how can I help you when you come home be a better person to yourself and to everyone, because you still need to actually come home and actually, you know, be positive and also have a family that you have to take care of physically, mentally, emotionally.
Right.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Well, we went through it with what's it called? We went through it with when I opened my first gym. I remember we would have these conversations sometimes. Where and I remember a specific instance where she brought up one time. We went out, her and I went out on a date with like 2 or 3 other couples, and through with clients of mine that were at my gym. And you know when you go out with people, you share stories, you talk, you have conversations and stuff. And then we came home, and I was like, "That was fun." She's like, "That was crap." I go, "What?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "All I heard about was like all these funny things and these things about you." And to me, it felt like they were talking about a stranger, because that's not the Alex I get. I get like tired, spent, exhausted,
Exactly,
like short, you know, like this much. He doesn't want to listen to anything. And I'm sitting there going like, well, yeah, because I'm busting my ass for 12, 14 hours a day. Yeah, what you want me to be on all the time? But like it makes sense. Yes, you do. You're supposed to, which means that's on me to be responsible to kind of balance out that, you know. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I mean, that was a long time ago now.
Yeah.
It was like
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
And I think that's the nature of how our society functions. Though I think, and I'm very critical, even though like just because of the military, I and just meeting people, I've connected so much through social media. But on the flip, I feel like a lot of times we use people just as pawns, or do we just collect people? I mean, you see it on Instagram. Like my pet peeve is when people have followers, they post something, they get the dopamine hits of the likes and the loves and the comments, but then they never like comment back. And I'm just like, are you people just like collecting people? Like, is this? And I think that's what happens. It's like we have like such a transactional. I think with our relationship, people it's so transactional where it's just like, you do this for me. It's like actually a lot of times it's one-sided. Like, okay, you just give me this, and I don't have any obligation to do anything back to you or for you, or to be reciprocal. Like you can't have, there's no reciprocity. You can't have a really relationship, you know?
Yeah.
You have to give and get. I mean, you have to give and take on both sides. And I think like relationships are like that, but I think the romantic relationships, it's more, I think there's more structure, or there's more, I don't know, conversations or information or realities around that. But I think with friendships, what I've learned, because I had to fire some friends because of this reason. Like, I'll tell you, they were listening. I don't care. I'll tell you this one. Like this one, where she would. I'm in a group chat. I met them in a group chat with somebody else. The cat.
Cat butt.
He would come into the chat.
Right.
For 2 years, she would come into the chat and dump all of her problems on us.
Right.
All the time. When we had something that was serious, she would kind of be flippant. She would kind of like, when someone gives you like a really like patronizing, like, oh, okay, cool, that's cool. Oh, sorry to hear that. And then they say that so they can get back to them. It was kind of like this relationship for 2 years. And
waiting for their turn to talk.
Right. Nope.
I think friendship is like, I'm not a person that thinks that like I'm not a person that thinks if I do something for you, like I want something back. But like so my partner lived in Argentina for a little bit. We have friends' family there, and we go there. And so she was going to Antarctica. So she'll probably know who this is. But I don't care. She probably not gonna watch this. But and she had some issues where she got out of Dallas late, and she had to fly to Buenos Aires. Well, she got stuck there. So we called from DC to our friend in Argentina to pick her up. They all speak English. To pick her up from the airport, take him to his house, his kids. His wife was a flight attendant, and then like gave her a place to like stay for a little bit until she kept and helped her out. So we were like, and she came here. I hosted her here in DC. So we had a kind of a friendship. And so for 2 years though, she would just dump all of her issues. She had a lot of guy issues. And we were like, well, don't do this because this is going to happen like the other guy. And she laughed it off and then she'll come, And my other friend, she had her mom die during this time. She was having employment issues. And my other friend and her, actually, they live in California, and they're actually they went to the same high school, and they hung out. But she was so flippant. So one day, my one friend, we were in a chat, and at this point, this is my thing. I'd let things go until to the point. This is my flaw. I let things go until it boils over and not explode. So this is what happens. So because I don't I'll let things go until I know there's a clear stop. And so she comes into the chat. So we were talking about these serious issues. I think I don't know if we put our lab down last year. I don't know if it was during this time. It probably was. But and my other friend, we were having issues and we were talking about it in the chat. And she would come in and she was like, okay, cool. And then this one time she came in and she was she was talking about something that wasn't really relevant and we didn't really care because we had a side chat and we were just like, okay, this is getting too much. And she got pissed because we weren't paying attention to her. And so I was like, boom, I saw red and I just went off. And I said, for the last 2 years, you have been a horrible friend.
So you're just I'm done. Yeah, you're you're done. Yeah, you're over.
You took so many emotions. You came in and you just ate. We gave you emotions. We gave you support. You didn't heed our advice. Fine, but you always came back to us. You don't care about any of our issues. We had serious issues going on, and you had to ask us 3 times, and you're in this chat about what's going on because you don't care. And you have the audacity to be snippy with us because this one time we take time out for the issues that we have and don't want to deal with it.
Well, that's somebody that's just living inside, their own, they don't understand anything at all outside their own hemisphere, right? So,
exactly.
and that gets you just kind of as you kind of grow as an individual, and then what you should be doing as you get better is you should be focusing on not only bettering yourself, but at the same time how to cut out toxic. I mean, that's an actual toxic person, not this crap that people are putting out there right now, toxic masculinity or toxic this or toxic feminine. That's an actual like a time energy vampire that's gonna suck it out of you. But so anyway, hey Robert, we're gonna bring on a couple more people real quick before we get off tonight. So, but thanks for hopping on, man, dude, and sharing some of the stories. Man. That was awesome, bro. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
So let's touch base tomorrow, we were talking about. All right,
let's do it.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Bye.
Take care, man. That was fun.
That was fun.
So, I wanted to finish up. I think Brian was going to hop on a little bit here, so I'll give it a few minutes to see if our good buddy Brian Carey from Hawaii is going to hop on. And if he does, great. If not, then we'll catch up next week. Apparently, they were having some flooding, some nasty rain that came through. Yeah, so he was talking about having to deal with that. So, but just to kind of wrap up that whole conversation, I think that's something twofold you can do. One is you can keep focusing on trying to do things to better yourself and build relationships, but at the same time take this opportunity to really eliminate toxic. This is a great time to really focus on taking an inventory of the people in your lives, and where they are.
Yeah, I think too. We were going to talk a little bit about how fear makes you make choices and decisions and act in certain ways, but I think we can leave that for another time.
Yeah, we can get to that. We can get to that next week.
Yeah, because I'm getting sleepy.
Are you getting sleepy?
Yeah, tired.
Well, we have been on for about an hour and a half.
Yeah,
so
it's a long time.
Yeah, we had a fair amount of people watching this time, so that was pretty cool.
10 whole people.
Well, fluctuating.
And we blocked the weird creepers.
Yeah, the live sex show knuckleheads. So
gross. Ew. Nasty.
Yeah, for those of you watching,
Jesus.
You need Jesus.
You're nasty and you need Jesus.
So, what do you want to finish with?
Name
for the show. What's the name for the show?
I don't know.
We need to come up
Ask
with a
them to
name.
come
I
up
mean,
with a
this is gonna
name.
be a weekly thing.
Okay, well, we'll come up with one, and next week you'll find out what it is.
Okay, that's actually a good one. A good idea is to
I was like, call it next week.
next week, this time next week.
No, we can let them pick it.
You can get some ideas.
Our
Yeah,
10
if you
whole
guys
watchers
have,
can pick it.
if you guys have any idea, well, you know what's funny is that's what's watching live, but then you go back and look at the views after, and you know,
If somebody sits through an hour and 24 minutes, of
Well,
this, you are a hard charger, my
yes,
friend.
you are. You're pretty badass. So.
Thank you.
We can feel some ideas. So if you guys have any ideas for names for the show, because I have a blast doing this and you do too.
This is fun.
Yeah,
I'm just
it is.
tired is all.
Yeah, well, you know, it is what
10:30,
10:30, and we woke up at what 6 a.m.
And
So-
we're old people
We're
with
old.
children.
You're first of all, you're slouching. You need to sit up.
Okay, mom.
Okay, well, I don't want you.
Okay, well, okay. Wrap it up.
All right. Thanks for joining us, you guys, and we will
See you next week.
We'll see you next week, and keep an eye out for the podcast Cornerstone of America. I got some really great guests coming up, and Anna Marie. If you guys want to check out any information on training, AM Strength, AM__ strength on Instagram,
and I'm on Facebook
and
too.
she's on Facebook.
But
Yeah,
Instagram is the best place to get me, or Facebook Messenger.
she's on the Fastbookie. That's what we call it.
I try not to be on Facebook. It makes my blood pressure go up.
All right, guys. Thanks. Have a good night. Bye.